happen is when the meet is done, it will process that recording and it will go into a folder in my Google Drive. I think it's called Meet Recordings. I think that's what the folder is called. So when you see that folder, don't be alarmed. That's where those videos will go. What do you do with those videos? What you do is either put them, share them through your Google Drive, which Deb and I are recommending that you don't do just because of a hard drive issue. Filling up your hard drive, we're recommending that you create that YouTube channel and post them up to YouTube. So with all that said, let me just check my chat, and if not, we'll get started. Yep. Oh yeah, thank you. You have to turn the captions on yourself. So I'm going to turn them off and see if you guys, because I haven't tried this, I'm going to turn them off and see if you guys can still see them. I think it's a user thing. Yeah, I think it's a user thing. So I'm going to turn off the captions just so that it's not in the way of the screen or the recording. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get started. I've got 2 documents and we're going to cover both. So one of the steps that we're going to do today might not apply to you if you are a self-contained classroom. Okay, so that's usually our kindergarten, our first grade, some buildings, second grade. It just depends on the building, the elementary building. But I would say any grades 4 on up, the step that I'm going to do will apply to you as you're setting up your Zoom conferences. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and this is kind of a tricky thing, I'm going to share my screen and you're watching on your conferences, but you need to see my steps, but then I'm going to also have you do those steps. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to bring this down here. Okay, very good. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second tab, and that second tab is where I'm going to go into Clever. Okay, and where we eventually will head into Zoom. And some of you might wonder, why didn't you do a Zoom conference? Why did you do a Google Meet? Well, I couldn't show you stuff in Zoom while I was in Zoom, so I had to do a Google Meet so I could show you about Zoom. Okay, so so I'm going to make another tab. Actually, I'm going to share my screen first. Okay, so you're not going to see my face anymore, and I'm not going to see all your lovely faces anymore. You're going to see my screen. So I'm going to click in the lower right corner, present now. I'm going to have it present this window that we're on right here. So you should all now see my screen. Is that correct? Thumbs up? Okay, yay, okay, cool. All right, so as you can see at the top, I made a new tab. So I'm going to go to that new tab, and in the handout, and if you don't have the handout in front of you, I'm going to be walking through all of this stuff. So if you don't have the handout, you know, maybe you can make a third tab with the PDF open. But if you've never gotten into Clever, for those of you elementary teachers, you're in it all the time. Eisenhower teachers, you're in it sometimes. It seems to not be as common in Facet and Clay. Although everybody gets into it for, I believe, iReady. So if you've bookmarked it, great. If you haven't, the URL is clever.com/in/Oregon City Schools. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that there for a second. And so this is where you'll be going back and forth between the 2 tabs. The tab of the Google Meet to see what I'm doing, and the tab of you getting into Clever yourself. All right, so it's just a matter of you, as needed, getting back and forth between those 2 tabs so that you can see what I'm doing while I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm hopeful that you have typed that in so far, clever.com/in/Oregon City Schools. And it should take you to a screen that looks like this. So when I say things like this, I'll pause so that if you're going between the 2 tabs, you can you can have a couple seconds to go between the two tabs. And again, if you have a question, and because I might not be on the tab of my Meet, and I might not see the question coming in on the chat, but you've got a critical question, by all means, unmute yourself, ask the question. Okay, so when you get to this screen, and by the way, the students do the exact same thing. We have, however, that Clever URL is automatically in the OCS bookmarks folder on every Chromebook. So any K-8 teacher, that's how your students can get to it. For the high school teachers that are in here, what you're going to do is either write down that URL that I gave in the PDF, or the students can go to our district webpage, and it's on the students for students resources page. Okay, so they can get it from there as well. And that is specific to our Oregon City Schools. I'm going to go ahead and click log in with Google. Everyone connects by logging in with Google. When you get there, it's going to, you're going to have to click your Google account in order to get in. Now, my portal looks slightly different than your portal. Okay, so for our purposes today, and I got the okay, and I didn't see, yeah, I did see you in here, Tracy. I used Tracy as my test as I was even going through the setup of all this stuff so that I could test things as a teacher. So I'm going to get into that real quick. All right, so give me just a couple seconds to get in, and so that you can see exactly what a teacher would see. This is how Deb and I help you guys out. Okay, so this is what your login will look like as you are logged into Clever. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the previous tab. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Okay, all right, very, very good. Okay, so this next step is the step that applies only to those teachers that are not self-contained. So if you are self-contained and you really only deal with one group of kids, then you don't need to do this step. Okay, so here we go. So what you're going to do is create a separate teacher page. By default, Clever gives you a teacher page. They give you a teacher page that's only visible to you, and then they also give you one that's shared with all of your students. But here's where the problem comes in for the non-self-contained teachers. The way Clever and Zoom work is that it pulls that data from PowerSchool. So if you are an Eisenhower teacher, it contains your connections. It contains your, oh, what's the other one that you guys just instituted this year? Can't remember. Can't remember.
Eagle Time.
Thank you. Eagle Time. So it'll show that. It will show lunch if you've got it. High school, it'll show if you have any study halls, it'll show those. So you don't want those kids to be a part of that. And let's say, for example, you are a high school teacher and you teach history and math. Well, you want to have two separate rooms so that when you want to talk with your history kids, your math kids can't jump in. Now, I will say that just in the last day or two, as we all are, everybody is building the plane while they're in the air. And so Zoom was not intended for an educational environment, but they are adapting. And so there are little things that are happening, little updates that are happening that changes to make it more secure for an educational environment. So just 2 days ago, they instituted the waiting room was on by default. So when you create, and I don't have that in my directions, but it's pretty straightforward. When you create a session, the students won't come right into your session. You have to approve them into your session. And that's because of some things that came out where there's now not so nice people out there that are roboting and just searching for these Zoom sessions or these Google Meet sessions, and they're just randomly joining them and then doing not so great things. So if you've read any of that, that's a fact. And so Zoom quickly instituted, by default, it's on, that the students go into a waiting room and you have to approve them into your Meet. Okay, so you will see that as a default. You can, as a teacher, turn that off, but I just haven't thought through it. I may turn it on and make it locked, so we can't turn it off by mistake or otherwise. I think that adds another level of security for our students. So anyway, so I'm going to go back to the Clever tab. And so what we're doing now is I'm speaking to those teachers that are not self-contained. You're going to create a teacher page for every group of kids that you want to put together, okay? And by the way, you can't make just a random group. It's got to be a group that is made up of one or more of your courses, okay? So that's what we're going to do right now. In the lower right corner, everybody that's doing this, we're going to find that green button that says Add. And I'm going to add a page. And I'm going to stay here just so that if you're flipping back and forth, you can see where I'm at to make sure you're on the right page. And if you're not, if you are confused, I'm going to ask you to just unmute yourself and then ask me, because I won't go back and forth on the tabs. Once you're on the page, you can give it a name. I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to say it, Mrs. Vigna's, I'm going to say test page, Tracy, just so that you know this is me, and you can delete it later.
Dawn, I have a question. This is Liz. So I have only math, but it's 3 different sections of math. So would I want to create one for each section of math? Or if I'm going to do one lesson, I want all my math kids to have access. So I just need to have one for every single student, correct?
Correct. You're going to create I would say, Ms. Holzhauer's math class, because you might want to do something with your homeroom or something like that.
So maybe create one for all of them and then one for my homeroom. So if I want to meet with just my homeroom, I can?
Yes. So you would have one that would say my homeroom. You would have enough. And by the way, use your name, because put your name in the name of it, because when the students log in, they're going to see every teacher page. So like my high school teachers, they're going to see every teacher page that gets created. So you want your name to be in there. So make it descriptive. So to finish up my answer to Liz's question, Liz, what I would do is I would make one for your homeroom, and I would make one for math, and then you're going to put all 3 sections of math into that, and then whatever else other ones that so you don't want a separate one for each math. You want one math with all of your kids, all of your math sections in that one session, in that one teacher page.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to do Tracy Vigna's test. And if you click on the icon, this just kind of makes it fun. If you click on the icon, you can click over here, and there are some default ones, so you can pick those, or you can pick just a color, or you can upload your own picture. Maybe it's your photo if you want it to be, or anything like that. You can come back to this at any time and do this, so you do not have to do this right now. I'm going to click back. Well, no, I'm going to click the cute little, they're all cute. I'll do the reindeer. I think that's a reindeer. So I'm going to click the reindeer and then just click save. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to the left-hand side. And we're going to edit student sharing. This is where you're going to apply the sections that you want to apply to this. So by default, when you make a page, it's only you that has access. By default, that one that's made by Clever that allows all the teachers, that one has all students you teach. But for this purpose, for my non-self-contained teachers, you're going to pick the middle choice, which is one or more classes. And then when you see down here where it says select classes, so click on that little triangle where it says select classes, you'll see all of your classes. Now, these are the classes that I was telling you about. They come directly from PowerSchool. So all of those courses are in there. So like Liz's example, she's going to see 3 different math sections. If you teach 4 different geometry periods, high school teachers, you're going to see 4 different choices. Facet teachers, if you teach, a lot of ELA, you're going to see all your sections of ELA. So you're just going to pick them. So Tracy's are all the same. So Tracy's a kindergarten teacher, if you don't know.
All of my sections are not showing.
They should be. Are you scrolling in
Yep.
there?
Yep. I should have 3 social studies and 3 science. I only have 2 social studies.
Okay. I can't tell the voice who's talking here.
Colleen.
Colleen. Okay. So Colleen, if there's any, those oddities, just drop it in the chat if you would, because I'll go back, I'll export that chat, and then I'll double check, because I can look it in as you, I can see what's going on, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Dawn, this is Lisa Keller, and I don't have any classes in PowerSchool. So no classes appear in my drop down.
Okay.
And I know there's other specials like me.
So unfortunately, Lisa, this choice as it is presently would not work for you. It's only driven by courses that you have in PowerSchool. Now, I can manually create a section. Okay, it's manual. So if you will, and I can see me doing this next week while you guys are all on spring break. So that's a really, really, really good question. And maybe I can get it to work by the time you come back after spring break. Does that make sense?
That is awesome.
Okay. So what I will ask you to do, Lisa, is put something in the chat. I don't want student names in the chat. But then email me your students that you'd like to be able to connect with. Okay. And it would be students that you would connect with as a whole. Because this Zoom Meet or this Zoom Clever situation does not give us the opportunity to make random sessions. We're still working on that. I'm still hopeful that we'll find a solution for that. Like, let's say you want to just meet with a couple kids that are struggling. This does not have that option. It's all or nothing. Now, you could open a session and only let those kids in, so you could do that. But in Lisa's case, she doesn't even have kids to let in. So I think we can get that fixed. I've got an idea. I have to do something inside of Clever, but I think I can get that working.
Hi, Dawn, it's Leanne.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way for us to know what's first semester and second semester? For example, I have 2 8th grade classes, but I have 4 sections listed there. Do I just select all 4?
That's the same problem I have. This
Okay.
is Lisa Stevens.
Okay, I'm thinking. Let me think on that one. You can always come back and add them. I know it's hard for you at this point. Go ahead and add all 4 of them. It's certainly not going to hurt, especially because of the waiting room. But and you're going to be talking to your second semester kids, so the likelihood that the first semester kids will even know that it's going on, is small. So I would say at now, go ahead and add them all in. And then if I find a fix, I'll let you guys all know. But if not, it would be just a matter of you guys letting the right ones in.
So Dawn, if you have the same kids both semesters, do you just pick one?
Yeah, it does. You can pick one or you can pick both. It doesn't matter.
It won't list them twice?
No.
Okay.
No, because all you're doing, you guys, is telling which classes, which students you want this particular page to show up on. So you're going to see all your pages, but only the kids that you are adding right here will see your page inside of their Clever. Does that make sense?
Dawn, this is Deb Evans.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to who can access this page, in my case, as with elementary PE, we see all of the kids in the building. So do I still do only one or more classes, or do I click on all students that you teach?
Great question. I think what I would do is if I were a music teacher or a PE teacher in the elementary buildings or anywhere, quite frankly, I would do it by grade level. I would put all your kindergarten sessions together, because maybe you want to do a Zoom with all your kindergarten. And then I would do first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. That's what I would do.
So I would have to get back to you on how to do that. I don't want to take everybody's time right now, but
you don't yours have the grade level at the beginning?
if am I going to click on one or more classes?
Yes, you're going to do one or more classes.
And then save.
Yep, in the select classes, you're going to just click on all of the ones for one grade level. Now you might need to change the name because maybe you didn't name it correctly. So maybe you would say Mrs. Evans's kindergarten PE.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
All right, so I'm going to, in Tracy's case, because you're seeing my screen, if you're watching me, I'm going to click on, and they're all the same kids, so, you know, it means nothing in Tracy's world, but I'm going to click on her speaking and listening, and then I'm going to go back to the triangle and click on her social studies. So that's what you will see as you have more and more periods at my 512 buildings, more and more sections at the elementary buildings. Any other questions before I click save and move on? Okay, I'm going to click save. Again, you can come back at any time and rename it, give it a different image, add different students if you forgot a section.
Dawn, this is Elizabeth Gibson. I have a quick question. My laptop turned itself off just as this was happening. So I missed about first semester and second semester. I think I added my first semester kids first and then hit save. Can I go back? And then I only have a few, like maybe 8 or 9 that are different.
Okay.
Can I then add the second semester classes and it won't double up on the kids?
It will not double up on the kids. No. So Elizabeth, you're going to go, if you've already saved it, you're going to go
then
to
I go back to edit student sharing. Yeah.
You got it. It takes you right back to where we were.
It doesn't list them as first semester or second semester. It just lists them as courses. So I didn't realize when I was doing it.
Oh, yeah. And I think if you missed this was the part that Leanne was asking about. The likelihood that your first semester kids will know, because you're communicating with your second semester kids via Schoology. So the likelihood that your kids will join is minimal. And even if they do, they'll go into the waiting room and you just don't let them in.
Right. It's mostly about adding those kids that added choir or added my theater class second semester that weren't there. I didn't really lose any.
Got it.
I just moved some.
Got it. Yeah. No, it won't double them up. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So on the handout, what it says is you're going to continue and do these steps for all those different sections. And maybe some of you that are quicker were doing that as I was speaking. But if you didn't, and we're not going to take the time now to do that unless unless we get to the end. I just don't want to run out of time. But all you would do is go into the lower right-hand corner. And if you're watching on the Meet, I'm circling it. You're going to go into the lower right-hand corner and you're just going to add another page. I'm sorry. you're going to go, my fault. You're going to go back to your, in the upper left corner, you're going to click where it says back to the page where you see all your pages. So now on Tracy's, I see Tracy's page that's only visible to her, Tracy's page that's visible to all of her students, and then the Mrs. Vigna's test that I just made, and it says it's shared with 2 sections. So if you've got more, like again, if you're an Ike teacher and you teach science and math, you'd want to have a Mrs. Schiavone's science page and a Mrs. Schiavone's math page. Or in Liz's case, a homeroom and a math. And you just click this add button when you're ready to add that additional page. So I'm going to move on, assuming that you took the time to add more pages, okay? Assuming that you took the time to add more pages. You can do that later. At the end of the session, if we have time, I'll stay on and let you do that and make sure you don't run into any problems. Or maybe you already did it. So now I'm on the step that says connect individual Zoom conferences to corresponding teacher pages in Clever. So this is where it is different again for my self-contained versus my my non-self-contained classes. So because those self-contained teachers have been waiting patiently, I'm going to do you guys next. We're going to go into connect your Zoom account to your teacher page in Clever. So for the self-contained, you didn't need to make additional pages. So all you have is the page, and make sure you look at the one that says shared with all of your students. So you're going to go into your I'm sorry, I lied. Okay. I want to make sure, because I might be able to. Yep. Okay, so we are all, everybody, everyone, going to go to your page that looks like this. So everybody get to their page that looks like this. And I'll wait for just a second. And one of the apps, I will, anybody not with me, if you're not with me, unmute and let me know what problems you're having. I'll give you a second. Okay, very good. So if you scroll down in that screen, you will see the video conferencing section. I put Zoom all by itself. You see this icon. The students do not see this icon. The students don't get into Zoom and then get into your section or into your session. They just get into your session, okay? So we're going to click on that Zoom icon. It should automatically take you to a new tab and be in your Zoom account. This is the reason why it's doing this is that Zoom and Clever partnered up and said, we're going to work together in this situation that we're in. And so this is not how it normally works in the real world. This is definitely Zoom and Clever working together. So self-contained teachers, you only have one group of kids. So what you do is you notice right here in this part of the screen, you have a personal meeting ID. The way Zoom works is you have a personal meeting ID that is unique to you. So in the real world, somebody can use that anytime they want to create a session and create a session. It's your number. It's your personal meeting ID. So with our self-contained teachers, you only need to use that one. So self-contained teachers. In this screen, highlight that URL and then copy. I'm going to use Command C because I always like to tell you guys shortcuts. You can right click on it while it's highlighted and copy, or you can go up to the edit menu and choose copy. So for my self-contained teachers, we're going to click back on the Clever tab. We're going to go back up to that page that's shared with all your students, because all your students are just one group. So I'm going to go back to Tracy Vigna's page, and I'm circling it on my Meet on my screen. So go back to the Meet if you want to make sure that you're looking at the right spot. So I'm going to get into Tracy's page that's shared with all of her students. And I already made one, but I'm going to make another one. They'll be duplicate, and Tracy, you can delete the other one later. So you're going to go to the lower right corner and you're going to click Add. And my non-self-contained teachers, you cannot do it this way. You cannot do it this way unless you want to talk to every kid in your list. Okay. So to the self-contained teachers, you are going to add a link. A little screen pops up from the right-hand side where it says paste link here, and it's sitting there blinking, waiting for you. You're going to do paste, and on your keyboard, it's a Command V, like Victor, or edit, paste, or right-click, paste. You're going to give it a name. This is where I would highly recommend you also, well, I guess it really doesn't matter too much because they're already into your page, but I would put my name in there anyway. You can see the one I gave on Tracy's was Mrs. Vigna's video class. You can call it anything you want. You can call it Zoom meeting. You can call it, you know, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it test video class. And then Tracy, you'll know you can just delete this one. You can set up categories on your page. So I've got some teachers that have gone hog wild putting links inside. And so for some of you, this is not new, for especially the elementary teachers. It's a way to put bookmarks, quite frankly. I think it's a great thing. So this might not be new to you, but you can create, we're not going to do it right now, but you can create categories. So if you get a lot of things in there, you might want to begin creating categories, but that's completely up to you. Right underneath that, you can pick your icon. Okay, I'm going to pick a different one just so Tracy knows the difference between the two. Once you've got it in there, you're going to click Add Link. Oh, Andrea, good question. Yeah, I heard it click in, so I thought I would check it. If you already had a Zoom account, it will put you right. It'll take your account, because I had to do this the first time I got in, because I already had a Zoom account. It'll just put you into the Oregon. It's the same account. It'll just put you into the Oregon Zoom account. So yes, confirm you want to switch your account over to the Oregon Zoom account. Who knows what'll happen when all is said and done, but this is the only way that your kids can get into Zoom, is if you are in this Oregon Zoom account as well as your kids. Yeah, Belinda, and I'm in the chat, so I'll answer that. Belinda, yes, teachers who don't have students in Power School, shoot me an email with the students that you want to be able to connect to. Don't put it in the chat. Okay, so now my non-self-contained teachers. You ready? Flip over to my other handout. Okay. So I'm speaking now to my non-self-contained teachers. So I'm going to assume that Tracy is a non-self-contained teacher. So a departmentalized, teach a variety of courses. What we're going to do is we are going to go over to the left-hand side and we're going to click on meetings. And I will leave it there for just a split second so you can flip over to the Meet tab and make sure you're in the right spot.
Dawn, I'm sorry,
Now we have
just for clarification, I am a non-contained, correct?
Yes. So by non-self-contained, I mean anybody that was creating more than one teacher page.
Okay.
So we need to go down to the Zoom app, correct? Is that?
Yes. Flip over to my Meet if you want clarification. So what I did was we all clicked on the Zoom button and it made a third tab, another tab that was in Zoom. So if you didn't do that, go back to your Clever page. Go back to here, if you're watching me, and click on the Zoom icon in your video conferencing. So I'm back on my Zoom profile tab. We're going to go to meetings. And you're going to click on schedule a new meeting. And here's the thing about it, and I put this in the handout. The dates and times of the meeting don't matter. It really doesn't matter because you're going to be the one starting the meet or starting the Zoom session. And so it doesn't matter when it is. So the dates and times don't matter. When I was going through the examples that Zoom was providing, they were kind of doing it as if a school district was creating a daily schedule. So math was going to be from 8 to 8:40 and PE was going to be, from 8:45 to 9:15 or something like that. And it was going to be daily. So again, it really doesn't matter when the date and time is, because when you start it is when the kids can get in. The topic, again, this is more for your purposes. The students aren't going to see this. They're only going to see the Zoom, the button that you just created. But I would, for your purposes, I would name it, something that makes sense. So I would call this grade 4 music.
Thank you.
I thought you'd like that. Description doesn't really matter. Date and time doesn't really matter. Make sure that what I might recommend is that you click on recurring meeting, and I would just put, I don't know, 20 occurrences. It really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Actually, end date by, you know what? You could even put the date, you could put May 22nd.
And that's in the description box?
No, in the end date. Sorry, I'll flip over to the Meet tab so you can see my screen, and I'll point some things out because I wasn't really clear there. So in the topic is where I would put the thing that's going to make sense to you. The when and so on is not significant from what I've experienced. I would suggest clicking on the recurring meeting, making it daily, and say end it on May 22nd, which is in theory the last day of school. The meeting password, if you choose to use this, your students are going to need to know the password, but I think the waiting rooms has really helped with that. Meeting password is just another level of security. So, you know, you don't just need the Zoom URL, you also need a password. So you could institute that if you wanted to. But the fact that they're behind the Clever wall and now they're behind the waiting room wall, I think that I probably wouldn't put it myself, but that is totally up to you. I'm going to change this on the back end and the defaults. So I'm going to ask that you change it now. Do you see where it says video, everybody?
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that you turn your video on. I think that's fair, but I'm going to ask that you turn your participant video off. One of the concerns that we talked about at the beginning, which is the privacy of the students, and us having them be seen, forced to be seen. Now they have the opportunity to turn themselves off, but I think it's in our best practice for us to have the participants' video be off by default.
Will they still be able to turn on their video?
Absolutely. Under audio, it's locked. You want them to be able to connect. If their audio is not working on their Chromebook, they could connect by phone. But so you can see that's not an option that you have to change. The meeting options, I have it locked where the students cannot join before host. I think that's fair to say that that's a good thing. Students cannot join the Zoom conference on their own without you being in the conference. This is one of the security holes of Google Meet. You all joined before I did. Lots of you did. Do you want your students joining your conference before you get there? And to me, the answer is a resounding no. So
same, Dawn, I have a question. The same goes for ending a meeting?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. When you end the meeting, they are automatically kicked out. And again, that is not the case with Google Meet. So another reason why that's not a good option at this point. I've got it set to, by default, mute participants upon entry. This is not locked. So if you want to unlock that, so all their audio, but I also would keep that on. I would mute the participants upon entry. Google Meet did not give me that opportunity. That's why I asked all of you to mute yourselves at the beginning. And then there's that enable waiting room. It's on by default. That was what Zoom made a change on a couple of days ago. You can turn it off, but I wouldn't suggest it. I would leave it on. And that's the one that I'm going to go in now that they've done the change. I might go in and lock it so that the waiting room is on and you can't turn it off. And I think not that I you know, I'm trying to be the Nazi, but I just think that it's the wise choice to make. The next two, only authenticated users can join. They're already authenticated, so that's a moot point. But with the waiting room and everything, I haven't investigated that a whole lot, so I don't know if they need to do anything else. So I would leave that off for now. And then the last one, you can record once you're in the meeting. But you can also have it record automatically. I want to talk just for 1 minute about recording though. I was on, and I'm going to share this with you because this is what Jennifer and I spoke about yesterday when she and I were talking about, you know, this guide document that we would like to get to you. I was on a conference call with tech directors in the area, and we had an attorney that was in the conference call with us, and the attorney was in New York. She resides in New York. She was If you, I mean, no offense if any of you are married or know attorneys, but sometimes they talk a lot of legalese. And she did not. She was very clear, very black and white. She specializes in student data privacy. She is an expert in FERPA, COPA, SIPA. And if you don't know what those are, Google them, because this is what I'm talking about. When you turn that video on, when the student's video is on, and you're seeing them, and you're recording them, and you're posting that, that is a pretty significant privacy breach for those students. You're in their homes, you're seeing their faces, and so if I were the teacher, I would only record, and this is, I'm just giving you a little heads up. I think it's fair to say that, you know, recording when the students are not showing is okay. Recording when the students' faces are showing and audio is heard is not a good thing. So that's just my 2 cents on that. And I'm going to tell you that that's going to be in our recommendations, the guidance for your settings as you're moving forward.
Dawn, this is Liz. I have a question. So we were talking about if we were using Zoom to do a live lesson, we know that, like, for instance, all 73 of my math students are not going to be on for the lesson. So we were talking about, you know, is it okay to record that as a lesson with the kids joining in if we're only putting it in Google Classroom for kids to come back and watch the lesson later?
So great question from the voice. I think that was Liz. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So the recommendation is going to be that is totally fine, but you should have the students' cameras off and you should have the student audio off. The way the attorney said it, and I feel like I'm in agreement with this attorney. She said, if you're doing it as a lesson, there's no need to see the students. They want to see you. They want to see what you're doing, but the students should not be shown if you're going to record it. And I totally agree with you. There's students that aren't going to be able to join you at that particular moment for whatever reason. And they want to be able to go back. But that recording should not contain the student's video or the student's audio. Let's say you're doing a session, a help session, or a, hey, let's join just so we can see each other session. Have the audio and video on, no big deal. Just don't record it. Does that make sense? And any
kids, though, like while I'm teaching, if they stop and ask me a question and I'm recording, but I don't have their faces, I shouldn't then post it because one of the students or multiple students ask questions during the lesson while I'm recording.
I'm gonna concur with what the attorney said because this was questioned, and I would say the answer would be no.
So ask them to put like in the chat feature instead of asking
but if you're putting it in the chat, it's part of the recording. So what you can do during the Zoom session is pause, and you can pause the recording, and maybe then you can say, does anybody have any questions? And then work through the questions, and then you can start the recording again, and it will just skip that section where the students were involved. So you can pause and restart whenever you want during the Zoom session. And then when it processes that video, it will not have those parts in it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and click save in the bottom of that screen. Remember when I was talking to our self-contained teachers and I was talking about your personal meeting ID? To my teachers that are following with me right now, you now have a new, unique, totally separate from your your original one. You have your original one, your original meeting ID, but now you have a new one, a second one. And it's this one, and look at my screen to make sure you're on the right spot. You're going to highlight this URL. So it's different in that it says join URL. It's not your personal meeting ID. Okay, and there's a copy on the right-hand side to help you if you're struggling like I was with copying that. So you're going to Command C, or you're going to click the copy button in the right-hand side. You're going to go back to your Clever. You're going to go into your page. So I'm going to go into Mrs. Vina's test page. And you're going to do what the self-contained teachers just did. You're going to go to the lower right corner and click Add Link. You're going to paste that link that we just created. You're going to give it a name. So in this case, like if I were using what Liz and I were talking about at the beginning, I might call this Homeroom Zoom. I'm going to give it an icon. And again, you can upload your own icon at any time. You can come back into this and edit it at any time. And then click Add Link.
I'm not finding my add button. I'm sorry.
Okay, so flip over to the Meet so you can see where I'm at. Are you here?
Yes.
So in the lower right corner.
Oh, then I have to go. Okay. I have to go back to the Clever page.
Correct. Yeah, the Clever tab.
Okay. Okay.
Because we're adding it in Clever.
Add page. Okay.
You're not adding a page. You're at. So I think you're in the wrong. You might be in the wrong spot. So Deb, you're going to go to one of the page. You're not going to add a page because you already added the page.
Okay.
You're going to go into the page that you added.
The Clever teacher page.
Probably the one that you maybe named Music 4th grade or Music Kindergarten.
Okay, I did.
And then in that lower right corner, you're going to click Add and choose Link.
I'm not seeing an ad. It's not showing. It says help at the bottom, but I don't see an ad.
Kathy says, I'm lost. Kathy, I can definitely give you a one-on-one if you need it. No, but I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you're telling me.
Me too.
Okay. Okay. And we can go longer if you guys want to go longer. I have an admin meeting at 11, so I need to kick over to that one, or we can schedule one later, or Deb can help as well. You know, if you were struggling with this, it's recorded, so you can go back and watch it. Lots of different options. Okay. So we are right at 11 o'clock. I want to just take a couple minutes and finish us up here. So for my non-self-contained teachers, my departmentalized teachers, you now have one of your sections, and maybe you were working quickly and you did all the other ones. You now have your separate teacher page with your separate Zoom link for those specific students that you have in this teacher page. That is the logic behind it. We took the time to do one, okay? And now we're going to start a conference. So now once you get all of these set up, you never have to go back to the Zoom button. You're going to do it all through your teacher page. So I'm even going to rename this. This is the, so what I made my link for the 4th grade music. So this is the teacher page for 4th grade music. So in the end, Deb's going to have many teacher pages. She's going to have a kindergarten teacher page with a separate Zoom URL on that page. She's going to have a first grade music page
Oh, boy.
with a separate Zoom. Once you've got it set up, it's, you know, it won't, it might take you maybe a half hour to get them all set up. But once you've got them set up, then you're good. And by all means, if you need more help, just reach out. We can create a one-on-one session and we'll get you through it. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay.
So to get in to a conference, you're the teacher. You get into your teacher page. The kids are the kids and they get into your teacher page. You click on your link. They click on your link. You get in as the teacher. They get in as the student. It's just how it works. So I'm going to click on this homeroom Zoom. It's going to take me to this screen. And flip over to my screen, flip over to the Meet. If this is your first time doing this, which for most of you it is, your screen might look different than mine in that it asks you to download and install the Zoom app. I would highly recommend doing that. The Zoom app gives you more capabilities.
Dawn, this is Liz. So will the kids get the option or have the dialog box come up to say download as well?
They will, but they can't. So
Okay.
they're not going to get a download. They're going to get another one that asks them to install the Chrome extension.
Okay.
But right here is where, and this is at the very last step on your handout, it says at the prompt, this is for students logging in. It says at the prompt, the students need to click on the start from your browser, and I'm circling it on the Meet if you're watching me. They're going to click on start from your browser. That is what they're going to do.
Okay, thanks.
They cannot install the extension. We don't want them to install the extension. So I'm going to click on mine says Open Zoom US because I already downloaded it. So on your second and third and fourth and 20th time that you create a session, you're going to see this screen here, and I'm circling it. So if you're watching the Meet, this is the screen you're going to get after the first time where you download and install the Zoom US app. Where it shows up, by the way, is it shows up in your applications all the way at the bottom. And I've got that, I'm showing that on the screen right now. It installs like lickety split. It installs very, very quickly. It's a teeny tiny little app, but that's the app that, that it's going to install. So I'm going to click Open Zoom US. It's going to open that app that I was just talking about. And I didn't know how it was going to react. I love this little capability. The students do not have this capability. Can you, I'm thinking you're still seeing my screen. And for you, it has the ability to put an image in the background when you're using the app. It does not have the ability for the students to do this. This is only available in the app. So when they do connect using my browser, they do not get this option. I'm not going to join. I'm going to quit right out of it because I don't know what it will do and I don't want it to mess up my Meet. So I'm going to quit Zoom. But what you're seeing on the screen, do you see what it will show when you're done with your Zoom session? You highly recommend, and I can't even imagine not, click End Meeting for All. And then that way, anybody that's in the meeting, any of your students that are in the meeting are kicked out automatically. Do not use Leave Meeting. So I'm going to End Meeting for All, and then it kicks out of the application. The way the students get in, same way. They're going to get into Clever. This is what they're going to see. Similar, because they don't see all of your pages. They just see the pages that they've been given access to. They're going to click on the one that you tell them. They're going to click the Zoom link. They're going to get this dialog box, and they're going to want to choose Start from your browser. They're not going to get this pop up. I'm going to cancel that. And they're going to want to do Start from your browser. Okay, I'm a few minutes over. I'm going to click back to my Meet tab. I will be exporting the chat. So if anybody asked a question that I didn't address, if you had any comments or problems that you didn't want to, turn your audio on and voice that to the group, I will be reading all of those chats. Okay, notice I have the grid, which is awesome. That's the extension. It shows up right here. It only shows up if you are, it will only show up for you because the students don't have this option. But you can see all of your students. And if you're in any kind of session, then you will be able to turn the grid on. And I think it's kind of a cool thing. Okay. So any more questions for the group for the good of the cause?
Has anything been done about, like yesterday, my kids were getting the SNAP and it was kicking them out?
We are working hard on that. We're not exactly sure what's going on. Who was asking that?
Amy Massell. I put it in the chat.
Okay, Amy, was it the whole class or was it just some kids?
It was the majority of the kids. Out of all my kids, I only been able to talk to like 5.
And I would love to, because we're trying to figure out what the heck's going on. We don't know if maybe it's the bandwidth, maybe, but I don't think so. So we're trying to figure that out. If you could email me the 5 kids that could and maybe 2 that couldn't, we can do some comparison checking and we can see what's different between their 2 devices. Okay, that would really help. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you all for joining and sticking out with it. The link or notification, I will try and, you know what, I wanna look here because some of these might just be very easy to be asked. I'm gonna go from the bottom up. Okay, the ones that have the green check are the ones that are logged in. The ones that have the red X are not. So maybe the green checks are those students that are currently on their devices and logged in. That's what that means. The link and notification, Colleen, yes, you need to tell them, hey, at 10 o'clock, we're going to have a Zoom. So go on and they'll go to Clever and click that link. That's all they need to do. Go into Clever, click that link. And as long as you've joined the session, they'll be in. I am the only one who gets, oh yeah, Leanne, yours is something different. We don't know what's going on with you. Sorry about that. But we're still working on it. The extension, Deb, are you still on?
I am.
No, Deb Filer.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Maybe she was never on. She was going to join. She might have gotten waylaid. The extension is Google Meet Grid extension, I think is what it's called. Yes, good, Liz. Thanks for the comment. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end now. I think we're good. Any questions that need to be replied to, I'll reply to you individually if that's how if it is. I will reply to the group if that's how it is. So thank you all for joining and look for the recording up on the OCS Tech Hub. Okay. Thanks everyone.
Thanks,
Have a great day.